Well, you've got to admire his, what's the word, chutzpah.
Oh, yes, chutzpah is certainly the word. I mean, most people would be embarrassed about being arrested and having a mugshot taken. The Donald treats it as a photo op. Already the mugshot is now actually a T-shirt going, being run off in its tens of thousands for his loyalist support base. It's quite extraordinary. It's also amusing because he's had two mugshots taken. In fact, one in New York for the case there, and one for the one in Georgia yesterday. Surprisingly, apparently he's lost several pounds between the two. In fact, which okay, I'm no dietitian, so that's quite feasible, but he's also grown an inch in height. But I don't quite see how he can do that at the age of 77.
But this is the thing. Yeah. This is the thing I can't understand, Connor. I thought when because this was in a prison, so it was all official. The mugshot. I thought mugshots you had to look fair, like a passport photo, look fairly straight faced, and on the other hand, I thought it'd be official. How can he lie about his height and his weight?
Well, maybe he's treating a bit like your average Tinder bio, so it's a little bit of comfortable exaggeration.
Okay, so it's a bit swipe left, swipe right.
Exactly, yeah, and I think Trump has made the calculated bet that if he has this particular face, the optics, more American voters are going to swipe right on him. And it's funny, you mentioned the other mugshot. That wasn't released. I think Fani Willis has made a miscalculation here by allowing it to be released because Alvin Bragg didn't want it to get out. And because the Democrats know this is a very effective, in a safe and secure election, campaign strategy for Trump to have. Because, and this is very important as well, if anyone's been to the National Portrait Gallery in DC, all the other presidents had their portraits painted. Trump hasn't. He's just got a blown-up version of an official photograph he had taken. Guarantee, no matter what happens, whether he wins the election, he gets one taken, or the regular one remains there, that photo, that mugshot, will be in the National Portrait Gallery as a historic piece of history. So he has played the optics game very well, and by that face, by the fact that he's the first president to have this, he now looks vindicated in the idea that this is a witch hunt against uniquely him.
Well, vindicated in his support base. I mean, what's going to be interesting, of course, is the Georgia trial will be televised, unlike the New York one, which is quite interesting.
But Paul, the more indictments he gets, and we're up to 4 now, aren't we?
And 90 charges, I think 91 charges.
Yeah, I think it's 96, actually. The more popular he gets.
Of course.
He's 45 points ahead of any of his nearest rivals in the party.
Oh, the arrests and indictments are going to probably, almost certainly, clinch him the Republican nomination. I think that is, if not a racing certainty, as near as damn it. But it may well turn off college-educated Republicans who will either not vote for him, even if they don't vote for the Democrats, they will actually stay at home. The soccer mums, for example, are not going to be exactly, or the majority of them won't be cheering for Trump. So I hope it will cost him the election, even though it'll almost certainly clinch him the GOP nomination.
I think one thing you aren't counting there is the fact that a recent poll that was republished by The Hill found that 12th grade boys are skewing very conservative. They aren't showing up in the polls yet because they're just about to leave high school and become eligible voting ages.
Oh, wow, so youngsters are...
Yes,
wow.
Young boys are skewing conservative. One, because schools are flooded with woke stuff and it's just not even remotely cool, but two, and this is something that the soccer mums might be pushed back over towards Trump's camp, because remember, he did win white women back in 2016 in sizable numbers. Bidenomics sucks. It's dreadful. They've got historic inflation and lots of things. When the Americans go to the gas pump and they're paying prices similar to the UK, when they were paying about $3-4 a gallon under Trump, they're going to be thinking, well, what do I care more about? Mean tweets or the fact that I can fill up my car and drive my kids to soccer practice?
That is a risk. Although I wouldn't actually put money on Trump winning it, I wouldn't rule it out totally either, because American politics at the moment are in a shocking and cruel and incredibly divisive state. It's also fascinating that I think with Trump, he is convinced. you can say he's a cynical liar, and he certainly is, but I think he's also convinced himself that he was robbed of the election,
well, he was.
despite all the evidence to the contrary, despite every legal ruling has gone against him.
Well, hang on,
one at a time, boys, one at a time.
Sorry.
The tale of that tape, in Georgia speaks volumes. But America is divided, and you've got this extraordinary spectacle looming of a conceited former president with contempt for the law, and and a man who almost believes he should be a demagogue, against a member of the gerontocracy who could easily fall over on the campaign trail or the debate. So it is an incredibly volatile situation.
When this goes to trial, it's going to be a show trial. I mean, just for him appearing for this indictment, they closed the airspace down around it because of a VIP event. Yeah. Which is astonishing. I mean, even the people that are against him, the authorities are against him. So, I mean, do you actually think, Connor, that he actually believes he's invincible? That he did, I think, infamously once say he could stand in the middle of Times Square in New York and shoot people and still, Fifth Avenue, and still vote for him? Well,
I think people know from the art of the deal that he likes to make the big ask, he likes to oversell it a little bit, and then some people, by virtue of his charisma, believe him. I think the majority of the American public that watch this will go, well, hang on a minute, there is a weaponisation of the Justice Department here. It's not just been against pro-life activists and people that have criticised Joe Biden. The FBI recently investigated radical Catholics and said that the rosary is a hate symbol. So it's being directed at the American people as well as... Hang on one second, I just say, they've been directed at the American people, and Donald Trump looks like he's being proven right when he once said, they're not after me, they're after you, I'm just in the way. And if you look at most of the Trump indictments, particularly the Georgia ruling, they've got over 100 different acts in there. Two of them, for example, they're so spurious, they cite his tweets where he's retweeting one American News Network segment in support of it. So these charges are completely bogus. Every single one of them in every single state is nonsense.
You're sounding like a member of the cult, the Trump cult.
You can insult me as you like,
but I've read them
because he is a cult leader. Many of his followers, if he told them that the Earth is flat, the world is flat, and revolves, and the sun revolves around the Earth, and the moon's made of blue cheese, they would believe him.
So we can just trade arguments back and forth if you like, but I'm making substantive arguments about the standing of the case, and you're just repeatedly calling him a narcissist because you have a personal slight against the man.
No, I
think the evidence, in fact, speaks about his narcissism and his contempt for the truth and democracy. And certainly, I did a book about 3 or 4 years ago on social media and its impact, and Trump plays that masterfully. Of course, he's now back on Twitter, so he's going to be using that extensively again. But also, I was talking to somebody in Ukraine who's quite sort of close to Zelensky, and they are living in terror of Trump winning back the White House because they are convinced that America, under Trump, America will actually row back, if not totally abandon its support for Ukraine.